Here are 5 promises from God related to trials in Christianity. James 1:12 Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love Him. This promise assures believers that endurance and perseverance in the face of trials will ultimately lead to a heavenly reward, emphasizing the importance of faith and love for God. 1 Corinthians 10:13 No temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful, He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. This verse provides the assurance that God will not allow trials or temptations to overwhelm believers beyond their capacity to withstand. It emphasizes God's faithfulness and the provision of a path to endure trials. Romans 8:28 And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. This promise emphasizes that God can bring good out of all circumstances, even trials and challenges, for those who love Him and are aligned with His purpose. 2 Corinthians 4:17-18 For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. This verse highlights the temporary nature of trials and encourages believers to focus on eternal, spiritual matters, with the assurance that these trials are working to their benefit. Isaiah 41:10 So do not fear, for I am with you, do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. This promise provides comfort by assuring believers that God is with them during trials, offering strength, help, and support. It emphasizes God's presence and guidance in times of difficulty. Psalm 34:19 Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers him out of them all. This verse affirms that even the righteous will face trials and afflictions, but it promises that God will ultimately deliver them from all their troubles. 2 Corinthians 12:9-10 But He said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. This promise reassures believers that God's grace and strength are most evident in times of weakness and trials, and it encourages them to find strength in their vulnerabilities. Psalm 46:1 God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. This verse underscores that God is a constant source of refuge and strength, always present to help believers in times of trouble. 1 Peter 5:10 And the God of all grace, who called you to His eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will Himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. This promise acknowledges that suffering may be temporary but assures believers that God will restore and strengthen them after enduring a brief period of trials. Romans 5:3-4 Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character, hope. This verse highlights the positive transformation that can result from trials, emphasizing that suffering can lead to increased perseverance, character development, and a deepened sense of hope in the midst of challenges. Psalm 23:4 Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This promise assures believers that God's presence offers comfort and guidance even in the most challenging and fearful times. Romans 8:18 I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. This verse emphasizes that the suffering experienced in this world is temporary and minor in comparison to the incredible glory that awaits believers in eternity. Isaiah 43:2 When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you. This promise reaffirms God's presence and protection in the face of trials and adversities. It assures that believers will not be overwhelmed or consumed by their difficulties. 1 Peter 4:12-13 Beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery trial when it comes upon you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you, but rejoice insofar as you share Christ's sufferings, that you may also rejoice and be glad when His glory is revealed. This promise acknowledges the testing nature of trials and encourages believers to find joy in sharing in Christ's sufferings, knowing that they will ultimately share in His glory. John 16:33 I have told you these things, so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. This verse reminds believers that trials are an inherent part of life, but it promises peace through faith in Christ, who has already overcome the world and its tribulations. 1 Peter 1:6-7 In all this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while you may have had to suffer grief in all kinds of trials. These have come so that the proven genuineness of your faith, of greater worth than gold, which perishes even though refined by fire, may result in praise, glory, and honor when Jesus Christ is revealed. This promise highlights that trials serve to refine and strengthen one's faith, with the ultimate goal of bringing praise, glory, and honor to Christ when He is revealed. Psalm 34:17 The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. This verse assures believers that God not only hears their cries in times of trouble but also delivers them from all their difficulties. It emphasizes God's responsiveness to the righteous. 2 Timothy 4:17 But the Lord stood at my side and gave me strength so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed and all the Gentiles might hear it. And I was delivered from the lion's mouth. This promise highlights God's presence and support during trials and challenging circumstances, ultimately ensuring the accomplishment of His purposes. Matthew 11:28-30 Come to me, all ye who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. This promise invites those facing trials to find rest and relief in Christ, emphasizing His gentle and humble nature. Hebrews 10:35-36 So do not throw away your confidence, it will be richly rewarded. You need to persevere so that when you have done the will of God, you will receive what He has promised. This promise encourages believers not to lose their confidence during trials but to persevere in doing God's will, with the assurance of receiving the promised rewards. Psalm 9:9 The Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. This verse assures believers that God is their refuge and stronghold during times of trouble, offering a place of safety and protection. Psalm 121:1-2 I lift up my eyes to the mountains, where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. This promise reminds believers to turn to God for help during trials, emphasizing that He is the ultimate source of assistance. Isaiah 40:31 But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles, they will run and not grow weary, they will walk and not be faint. This verse encourages those facing trials to place their hope in the Lord, promising that He will renew their strength and help them endure without growing weary. Romans 8:31 What, then, shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? This promise emphasizes that if God is on the side of believers, no trial or adversary can ultimately prevail against them. Psalm 55:22 Cast your cares on the Lord and He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be shaken. This verse encourages believers to entrust their worries and trials to the Lord, with the assurance that He will sustain them and ensure their steadfastness. 2 Corinthians 12:9-10 But He said to me, My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardships, in persecutions, in difficulties. For when I am weak, then I am strong. This powerful promise comes from the Apostle Paul's experience and encourages believers to find strength in their weaknesses and trials. It conveys the idea that in moments of vulnerability and suffering, God's grace and power become most evident. It suggests that trials can be occasions to experience Christ's power and grace more profoundly. Rather than bemoaning weaknesses and hardships, this promise urges Christians to embrace them, knowing that through their weaknesses, they can become stronger through the power of Christ. Romans 5:3-4 Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character and character, hope. This promise offers a comprehensive perspective on the purpose of trials in the life of a believer. It explains that suffering and trials can lead to positive outcomes,